want to thank our sponsor, Parati's Quality Meats, located in Cranford, New Jersey, serving customers all over New Jersey for the past 50 years. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Coach's Talk, presented by the Shore Football Report. And our special guest is Monmouth County's one and only head football coach at Raritan, Coach Anthony Petruzzi. Thanks for coming on the show, Coach.
Coach, thanks for having me. Excited about this.
Oh, it's great, man. Coach, you do so much in the Shore Conference, not only coaching your football program, but you do other things too. And I want people to hear that. The academic all-shore breakfast that you organize, and also you coach your own kids in your own household in baseball and flag football. I'm sure that's a joy too. Coach, talk briefly about that academic all-shore event that you take place with.
It's really that's the experience that I love being a part of, because you get to acknowledge some of these kids that are just the all-around glue to your program. A lot of times you would expect them to be your glue guys. They do it in the classroom, they do it on the football field, and they do it in society, because again, community service, how you represent yourself in the community and your team, is a huge part of those standards that we ask coaches when they're making their nomination. So recognizing those kids is important, because those are the kids that we're really, when we think about sending them off into the real world, those are the guys that are going to come back and give back to their town, their school, and their community. So,
yeah, and it really was difficult this year just because we had to do a lot of things virtually, and the way you communicate with all the coaches in the Shore Conference and get all their input, and then to get them their trophy, their plaques, is amazing on what you did. It went so smooth this year. It really did. And you always do a great job with that, which makes all the kids very proud of our football programs. Coach, thank you very much with that. Now talk a little bit about coaching baseball. All right. Every time I call you now, you're at a baseball game and flag football and all that. I mean, do you still coach the same way you do on the high school level with the youth level?
Yeah, it's funny, because when I bring my sons to, whether it's football practice or something, like my coaches they'll laugh to themselves, because they're like, you talk to your sons just like you talk to the players, and that's that's really the whole philosophy that we have is right. Just, there's one way to do it. It's the right way to do it, and I should be able to talk to, I care about where my sons are going to be. I care where my players are going to be. So again, you talk about family in the game of football. My extended family, it's, I'm going to treat them, I want the best for them like I want for my own sons. So, when I talk to them or I talk to kids on the field, little guys, it's really the same. It's the teaching aspect, whether they're 7 years old or whether they're 17 years old, it's very similar. There's not much that change. And, you start with the basics, you make sure that they know that you care about them first as an individual. And then you find kids that will definitely run through walls, for you. So,
how old are they, Coach? Your own kids?
My oldest is 9, and my middle guy is 7, and then I got a 2.5-year-old, which is he's sleeping right now. So,
great. So
I'm sure he's sleeping. We got all the time to talk.
I'm sure your kids are breaking down huddle as we speak right now, right?
Yeah.
Coach, real quick, I want to introduce you to everybody here, because I'm sure people want to know a little bit more about you. Coach Petruzzi was the head football coach at Raritan for 12 seasons. He was the defensive coordinator 8 years prior to that, coaching with Derek Sadinsky and and Hall of Fame head football coach Bob Gennarelli. And prior to that, you were 2 years as an assistant coach, wide receiver and linebacker coach with that. You won a state championship in 2015. You've been very successful as a defensive coordinator, and now as a head coach, you're one of the top coaches in the Shore Conference, and if not the state. You've done a great job with that. How exciting is it to coach at your alma mater?
It's an honor and it's a privilege. When you go into every season, you meet these freshmen, you understand that they've had the same experiences, or just about the same experiences that you've had, growing up through the town. Hazlitt, West Keensburg is a very tight knit group, blue collar individuals. And it's kids are different, but at the same time, the community, manufactures the same. It's the same beliefs that you got shown to you when you grew up. So right now, I just want to make sure that I pay homage, to the people that have helped me get where I am, the great experience I had going through the Hazlet School District, my coaches who were so influential,
Yeah.
and the village that we talk about with just the parents, parents, my parents, parents of my best friends. It really was a village. So we try to give the same experience now, and it's nice to see that we could build upon what was already a strong foundation when we got there.
Coach, that leads us right into the next section that we do. It's called the process. And I think this is the most important part of this talk is I want people to know about you. How did you get to where you were at? It wasn't like you snapped a finger and there's no shortcuts. And when you're an athlete or when you're a coach, there really isn't. We got to work for what we got to do, and you got to win over the interview and then to get that job. Now, walk us through when you first started football back in the day as a player and walked through as a coach right up to where you are. Talk us through your resume for everybody on the show.
So I started off as a Hazard Hawk in fourth grade. I was a peewee in the Pop Warner system, and I was one of the smallest kids on the team. Got my 8 plays a game. Wind up continuing to play that. There was only two things: peewee and midget football. So you spend a couple time with the same coaches, which is a little bit different now in the AYF system. But got to know my Pop Warner coaches really, really well, to the point where my head football coach in Pop Warner, my fourth, fifth, and sixth grade head coach was Jim White. When we won that state championship in 2015, I was in the back clearing off the bus, making sure that everything was off. And he met me inside the bus. I was walking out to congratulate me. It was like a surreal experience, just that relationship that I had with my Pop Warner coaches growing up. And thank the Lord that when I got to the high school, I had Coach Generelli waiting for me there. He came in my sophomore year. We were his first sophomore class in '96, and I couldn't choose a better mentor just to talk about football, but life in general. And from there, didn't I went for 1 year. I tried. I worked at Rutgers as a film coordinator. So I taped practices. Terry Shea was the head coach at that point in time. And then came back and started coaching wrestling at the high school at Raritan as a volunteer. And that kind of just got me into the coaching bug. And I was able to the next year start with linebackers and wide receivers. So that's where I got transitioned. I always wanted to coach as a player. Coach G and Coach Ski, who was the defensive coordinator at that time, they really empowered me as a senior captain to the point where Coach would let me call the fronts. When formations came out because he knew I knew the game plan and what was going on. So I had the ability to check as a middle linebacker. And that just led into more interest of why we do things, and those two gentlemen, gave me my start because after that first year I came back, then Coach Ski became the head football coach at Raritan. I worked 1 more year as linebacker coach and wide receiver. And the following year, he gave me the opportunity to call the defense. And then that just that kind of went down the line until I became the head football coach at Raritan, which again I've been doing it now. For half my life been coaching football, and I can't see myself doing anything else.
I remember Coach Generelli because I was involved. We were in the same conference and we would have these meetings. And when he stepped down, he told me, he said, Raritan's going to be in good hands with Coach Petruzzi. And I knew you as a D coordinator and all that. And it was such a smooth transition when you came in because you knew the program. The kids definitely respected you, and you've taken Raritan to high levels in your 12 years. That's great to you. So you took a little bit from Coach Sadinsky and Coach Generelli and made you what you are as a head football coach, right?
Yeah, there's definitely and all my Coach Ruscroll, people know as Coach Bone. I had the opportunity to work for him as a young man growing up, and he's been around too. Those three guys in the game of football have been really influential. And part of it is just the emotion of being a defensive coordinator, of being a football coach, the learning how to deal with players, the process, game planning, my philosophy of how to treat players. It all came from those gentlemen.
I think it's very impressive that because sometimes when you go to your same high school that you went to school at, and then the administration might look at you still as that young kid. For you to go through and prove to everybody who you are and win it in the interview is definitely a good thing on your part with that. Nice job. All right, Coach. Now this next part. I'm sick of this mask, and I know you are too. It's the COVID season. I don't want to talk anything more about negativity on COVID because we know too much about the negativity. Tell me something positive that you learned this season while coaching during the COVID.
uh, we learned to trust our players more. Again, with the minimalized time that we had with them in some certain aspects, we had to make sure that they were doing, their responsibilities, whether it was film sessions, studying film, looking at game plan, lifting on their own, because we weren't able to come together. We had to put trust in them, and that was the best thing because it made us more efficient. And the best teams are not coach driven; they're player driven teams. And when you get your leaders to start, we had guys that were our Apollo 18, which we call them, which is our leadership council. They were reaching out to the young guys. They all had a group. They were making sure they checked in. We had some leadership discussions where they would turnkey with the rest of the team. So, as head football coaches, we kind of want control of everything, but to give that control back to the players, that was, I think, empowering to them. And it was nice to know that they can do it on their own. And I think that's some ideas that will continue, put more on they have to take ownership if they want to have the season that they want to have. We have a program, but this is the only version of 2021 that we're going to have, So the seniors really have to try to put their stamp on it, and the leaders have to try to put their stamp on it.
You said it perfectly, Coach. The hardest thing for me when I was coaching was not having the power, not being in control of the situation. And like you said, and that's great that you said that, was trust was a major thing in your football program during the COVID. Okay, now, Coach, we're going to talk a little bit. You're going to talk a little bit about the 2021 Raritan High School football schedule that now just came out and the new division that they put you in, the Constitution. Coach, go ahead.
So we're excited, about the opportunity. We feel like we always play a challenging schedule. We're always in a division where week after week it's going to be a black and blue division. We're going to get bruised up. We're going to compete. If we work hard enough and the ball bounces our way, we expect to win football games. But as you look, we start off with Ocean. I have tremendous respect for Coach Klein. That's a storied program. You look down our schedule, Red Bank Catholic, Manasquan, and again, Central, Red Bank Regional, Homedale. These are all either rivalry games for us or you're talking about staples in the Shore Conference. We haven't played Central recently, but again, everything that you know about Central over the years is that those kids, they're downhill. They want to get after you. They want to play a physical brand of football. It reminds me a little bit of an Ocean County Raritan team. We're excited about these opportunities, and I think it's something that our kids welcome and we welcome because you play this game because you're a competitor. And the one thing about the short conference schedules is that you are now in competitive games week in and week out. Mm-hmm. So starting with Ocean. We have our hands full. I don't really want to go down the line right now, Coach, because Ocean's going to give us everything that we can handle and more. Yep. So our mindset right now is on Ocean.
Yep, great job, Coach. That is a tough schedule. And looking at your division to the right, the Constitution, you got Manasquan, Ocean, Raritan, Red Bank Catholic. There are no breathers, but they're all saying the same thing. There isn't, from top to bottom, that may be the most competitive division in the Shore Conference. Would you agree or disagree?
I have tremendous respect not only for the teams but the coaches that are in this division. So I think that you could put these. And again, we're not the biggest schools, and maybe we're not perennial powers each year. But when you get one of these teams, any one of us, when we're at our best, we can compete with anybody. So I think that's where the wild card comes in is how are these games going to go in division, and you know it's going to be an expectation that we're probably going to meet somebody again, in a pod or in a state sectional
Mm-hmm.
game. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about surviving your schedule, and then it's about getting better. And hopefully you have the opportunities come postseason time.
Yeah,
So
that's a tough That's a tough division, coach. That is tough. But like you said, that's what you want. You want to play the best, and you come out of there, you're going to be definitely ready for the state playoffs because I know that's your goal every single season to get in that state playoff. All right, now, coach, I want you to talk about your 2021 Raritan High School football coaching staff.
I'm again privileged and honored to have a great staff. I'm going to put them at the top of the top of the line, and when it comes down to what they do for kids, what they know about football, how they combine both of those into just a well versed staff, and they make us myself and our players look good. And offensively, we have our offensive coordinator, Chris Damian, who again brings world of knowledge as a college um, a college assistant, a head coach in the short conference, and again he drives the ship on offense. We have two alumni, Dave Ernst and Matthew Dempsey. Okay, who are on the offensive side of the ball, who are working with our slots and our offensive line, respectively. Defensively, I work with again just a great staff. Jerry Dean is our linebacker coach. He's been with us for several years now. Joseph Schreck, assistant defensive back coach. Again, another alumni. Coach Bone, which I spoke about before, who's my special teams and defensive line coach, and is still heading our special teams and defensive line now for this version of the Rockets, and coming back for his second sequel, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then offensively, we have a couple changes. Excuse me, freshman football, we have a couple changes. We welcome Nick Mahoney as the head football coach. We got Nick after some time at Shore Regional. We knew that he was going to be a perfect fit for us because, again, when you come from Shore Regional and you're a disciple of Coach Cosentino, you know that Coach Cos has taught him football and just how to be that player-driven coach.
Oh, yeah.
Guys want to run through the wall for Coach Cos, so bringing Coach Mahoney over here with that same pedigree is something that we're excited about. And he's going to be assisted by two more alumni, Chris Virtio and Vito Elio, who both just wrapped up successful careers playing football. So
Coach,
we're excited about the young staff and what they can do, building relationships with these freshmen.
That's a very impressive coaching staff. That helps us head coaches make us look good. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to trust, and you don't want to get in their way. So we have the drivers on all levels, guys that know because of being players and now being coaches, they know the expectations from both sides, and they can talk about the legacy and the culture that has been established, which they helped to establish. So that's always a benefit, being able to bring in alumni to just continue that trend.
Now, let's talk 2021 Raritan High School football team. And before you get started, can you just tell everybody here what you run offensively, defensively, and then get right into your key players that I know you're really excited about this year?
So offensively, we're a flexbone team. Again, when you think about flexbone, yes, we got triple option. I feel like we're so that is a staple of what we do, but I still feel we're so multiple and so much. We throw the ball very successfully. We have answers for everything. I have such a ton of respect again for Coach Damien and what he's been able to do. Installing, implementing, and building on this offense. We made the switch a couple years back from a spread zone scheme where we won a state championship with in 2015. Now this gives us another component that people have to prepare for, and I feel like we do it well, and always excited about bringing back guys that have been successful in it prior. So we have a returning quarterback, Ben Hutchins, who was an all division player. Numbers were good enough to be, thought about as an all shore caliber player. Going into his second year, we're excited about just how he can become a coach on the field too. Seeing the way that Coach Damian sees it from the sideline. We have, a great returning running back here in Falzone, who let his presence known to the shore last year as a sophomore. Slots, Joe Campanella, Dan Calicari. Dan has big shoes to fill because he's replacing Luke O'Hay. And again, on the outside, Robbie Scarola as a wide receiver. We're guys that are skill positions that we're going to expect to kind of go both ways in some cases, help us in the secondary on defense. We also returned Jason Trotta, our big right tackle, who's getting numerous looks in regards to going to camps right now. The kid's 6'5", 275. He's a big boy and he can bend, and we're excited about seeing how he makes another leap this year on the offensive line. Defensively, we don't like to pigeonhole ourselves into a certain structure. We sometimes we play 4 down, sometimes we play 3 down. Our philosophy is to force and spill and run after the ball and get as many guys defensively to the contact zone as possible. Last year we did it from a 4 down structure. This year looks like we'll probably be a 4 down too. We like to get a feel for where our players are, and if our next best guy, is a linebacker, then maybe we run 4. Maybe we're running a 4-4. If it's in the secondary, maybe we're a 4-2-5. If we don't have enough D linemen, maybe we go to more of a 3-4 look. But it doesn't change. Our terminology doesn't change. And we kind of stay true to our belief that we're going to force plays. We're going to make you play left-handed. We're going to run after the football, and we're going to challenge you, in down and distance. So we try to have an aggressive nature. Leading that would be Alex Dekas. He's a returning all-shore player. He was also voted our Bennett Jackson Legacy Captain. So we have a little thing that we do each year. The seniors that graduate, they get to choose one captain to start off the year, and that was Alex. He has the respect of the older guys just from how he worked, how he prepared, and again, how much the plays that he makes on the field. That goes without saying. We also have the guys that we mentioned. We expect Dan Calicari, Robbie Scarola, Joe Campanella, Matt Agar, Jack Holman, Monty Abbas as defensive ends. There's a ton of guys in there, and I'm sure I'm forgetting to mention some. And I name these guys, but I think they're all aware that just because they had successful seasons last year, they're still in competition mode because we have some really good sophomores that were just ready to take the next step. We have some seniors that know it's their final opportunity, final shot, and have had a great offseason in the weight room, getting themselves bigger. And then the freshman team coming up, there are some sophomore-ready bodies. So if they get their acts together and they put that varsity mentality in their mind, hopefully we have competition at all, in all situations. And I think that's just going to lead to a better football team and a better product that we put on the field.
Coach, there's a lot of excitement in your program, and I know you were looking forward to these group of kids, for a couple years. You were young last year, and I think you surprised yourself a little bit. I mean, going 6-1 and having those kids back this year, it just means so much to your program, having not just your quarterback back, but having a lot of kids back, right? When you say your camp right now is kind of at another level than it usually is if you're rebuilding.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like you're installing. You have your lesson plan ready, right, Coach? And you're ready to do the installation and go through that stuff. But when the prerequisite skills are there, it always makes it easier to connect the dots and make that transition. It's the same thing. I'm a math teacher, so you always want your prerequisites to be strong before you build on top of that. When you have returning starters, it's not only comforting for you as a coach, but it's also comforting for the sophomores there because there's now somebody older outside of the coaching staff that they can go and kind of learn from and bounce ideas off of. And when you ever have those leaders on the field where you could say something and you see that they just do it, right? They just do it. All the eyes are on them. Mm-hmm. So when they see that, that translates down, and then that sets a level of expectation of when they get older, what is their expectation when they're going to be a senior? So it's nice to have an older team, and hopefully that just kind of, again, spills down to the next year, the next year, the next year.
Yeah, sometimes they just have to look at you and see your look, and they know exactly what you're talking about too, right? Non-verbal. That's great, man.
What the mood is too.
Coach, I want to thank you for taking your time off in the summer to talk to the Shore Football Report on the Coaches Talk. We wish you the very best, and we're looking forward to following you guys. We're going to be at your games. Have a lot of respect for you as a head football coach, and now that I'm the media, it still goes the same way. I really want to thank you for everything you've done for me and my program, and also what you do for the Shore Conference on and off the field. Thank you very much, Coach.
Coach, I just want to extend the same thing to you. Again, we battled on opposite sides. Your teams were always well coached, well prepared, hard-nosed kids. And again, you're truly one of the good guys in the Shore Conference. So good luck with what you're doing this year. We appreciate what you're doing, representing the Shore Conference. But again, selfishly, I hope you get back onto the sidelines very soon.
Who knows? I like this. No parents are yelling at me right now talking here. And I really like what I'm doing because I want to make football fun for everybody in the Shore Conference. And, I like covering. There's a lot of great football players, coaches, and programs. So there's a lot to cover here. Thank you, Coach, for coming on. And I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, Coach.